Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaskar. You have stepped into a course that is going to change the way that you look at data. Not just how you analyze it, but also how you communicate it. My name is Nivid Desai. I serve as the Program Executive at Writing Studio IIT Gandhinagar. Welcome to Writing for Data Science. This course is at the intersection of analysis and communication. As all of us know, data analysis is not just about coding and models. It is about solving real-world problems. And that is exactly why every single thought that goes into solving those problems needs to be communicated. And not just to one audience, across multiple stakeholders. That is where this course comes in. This course prepares you with the foundations of writing, especially curated for data science. We will discuss audience analysis, critical thinking, logical reasoning, as well as storytelling that is native to data science. So join me on a journey at the intersection of numbers and narratives. I'll see you in class. Namaste, hello and welcome to Writing for Data Science. My name is Nivid Desai and we are on a journey to explore the interesting intersections between numbers and narratives. In the last lecture, we looked at some strategies to build strong arguments within data science. Today, we will look at the key components of those arguments and try to break them down even further to understand the mechanics that make them work. Today, we are looking at structuring claims, evidence, and warrants. The structure behind every strong argument. In data science communication, it is not enough to throw data and conclusion into a report and hope that people agree. Strong arguments need a structure, an organized way to show what you are saying, why it is true, and why it matters. The classic structure is built around these three parts: claim, as in what you are arguing; evidence, as in the data or the observations that support your claim; and the warrant, as in the logic or reasoning that connects the evidence to the claim. If you remember, in the last lecture, we looked at these three as the first three components of building the strong argument. So learning to build arguments using these elements helps your writing become clearer, stronger, and persuasive. We have looked at these in some brief overview in the past lecture, and today I want to dive deep into what makes a claim strong, what makes an evidence credible, and what makes a warrant persuasive. Let's reflect on this question before we move forward. Have you heard an argument that sounded convincing at first, but didn't quite hold up when you thought about it? What was missing? Why was the argument convincing at first, but eventually, when you paid close attention, it started falling apart? What could it have done better? We start by exploring all these three terms in some detail. Let's begin with a claim. What is a claim? A claim is the main point or assertion that you are trying to convince the audience to accept. For example, Customers who receive personalized product recommendations are more likely to make repeat purchases. This is a claim. This is something that the audience will hopefully be convinced or accept by the end of your argument. And here are some tips to make strong claims. You be clear and specific, to avoid overgeneralization, and to focus on something that matters to the reader. If you ensure all these three, there is a high chance that your claim itself will become strong enough to capture your audience's attention. Here's a quick exercise for you. Write a claim about a model's performance improvement in one sentence. Mind you, claims can't be a paragraph long. They just have to capture the essence of what you're trying to communicate within a short duration. That is why I'm asking you to write it in one sentence. So, write a claim about a model's performance improvement and ensure that it matches the three criteria that we just discussed. Now that we've understood what a claim is, let's move on to understanding what is evidence. Evidence supports the claim by providing facts, data, examples, or observations. This is something that ends up proving the claim. For example, in a 6-month A/B test, users who received personalized recommendations had a 25% higher repeat purchase rate compared to the control group. This is, of course, an evidence for the claim that we just made in the previous topic. Here are some tips for strong evidence. Use relevant and sufficient data. We have discussed this in the previous lecture as well, to make sure that it comes from credible sources or well-executed experiments. And at the end, you present it clearly with tables, charts, and summaries. Any kind of graphical representation will definitely help in ensuring that your evidence is as clear as possible. Here's a reflection. Why is having more evidence better than relying on a single data point? However accurate or correct that single data point may be, why is it more important or even advisable to have more than one evidence? Think about it. And I will come back to you with a discussion on warrant. The first two parts of our today's lecture covered, let's now arrive at what is a warrant. A warrant explains why the evidence supports the claim. It is the logical bridge that connects the claim with the evidence. For example, personalized recommendations likely meet customer needs better, increasing satisfaction and encouraging repeat purchases. This is the warrant for the first claim and the first evidence. Once you write the claim supported by the evidence, this is what seals the deal for your reader. And here are some tips for making strong warrants. Make the connection between evidence and claim as explicit as possible. Lay it out, make it clear, give it details so that the audience is not left interpreting for themselves. Avoid assuming that the link between the claim and the evidence is obvious for everyone. Understand that your audience may not come from the same proficiency as you do. So, something that may be obvious to you may definitely not be obvious for your audience who doesn't have the same level of proficiency. And therefore, you address the potential doubts or gaps in logic. Because the audience may not be able to judge those doubts or gaps by themselves. They may not even realize that there is a doubt or a gap in logic. So you have to lay it out to have the audience on the same page as you, to not leave them in the dark. Here's a little exercise before we move forward. Given this evidence in front of you that 90% of users who got onboarding emails logged in at least once, this is the evidence. Write a short warrant that connects it to this claim. Onboarding emails improve early user engagement. I've just flipped the order to confuse you potentially, but I hope that you'll find your way through. The first claim, then the evidence, write the warrant. When we put it all together, it becomes a simple argument structure. When you structure your argument clearly, your writing becomes more persuasive and also easier to follow from the reader's point of view. People can locate the kind of information that they are looking for in their rightful place. Here's the example of a full structure. The claim can be that our new app feature improves user engagement. The evidence can be that app sessions per user increased by 35% in the month following the feature launch compared to the previous 6-month average. The warrant to connect the claim with the evidence can be something like this. Increased session activity suggests users find more value and reason to return after the feature was introduced. This is what the claim and the evidence suggest, and it connects the bridge of logic between what we are claiming and how we are proving it. It actually ends up improving the writing practice that you do. It adds clarity, as in the readers can see your logic immediately. It adds credibility. You, as the communicator, look thoughtful, not biased. And it adds persuasion, as in your writing moves from readers thinking, interesting, to an immediate click that says, that makes sense. Here's an example of what a structured argument like this may look like. The unstructured one may say, We think users like new designs based on feedback, but the structured one would say survey results show 82% of users preferred the new design. This indicates the design change aligns better with user expectations, making it more engaging and user friendly. In the end, the goal of introducing this structure is to make our arguments clear, connected, and careful. Good data writing is not about stacking facts on top of each other. It is about building bridges between facts and conclusions, using logical structure. Using claims, evidence, and warrants makes your work clearer, stronger, and much more persuasive to any reader, be it technical or non-technical. Because no matter their level of proficiency, both of these readers yearn for some kind of structure. They yearn for a certain kind of flow within an argument that helps them arrive at the point and helps them connect the claim with the evidence. I hope that we now understand not only why strong arguments are important, but also to build a strong argument, the kind of blocks which are necessary. Putting it all together, we will end up learning that the strong argument within data science ends up making our case as effectively as possible, and it will also empower us to build these strong arguments from the ground up, not only based on the data that we are collecting, but also arranging it and crafting it in a way for maximum effectiveness. That was it from my side for this lecture. We discussed claim, evidence, and warrant in much more detail. We looked at them at a glance in the previous lecture, and today's lecture was about a deep dive. In the next lecture, we will start looking at some more nuances within critical thinking and logical reasoning, particularly with a focus on data science writing. Thank you so much for joining with me today. Until the next lecture, stay curious, keep learning. All the best. I will see you in the next class. Namaskar.